Ta-da! And welcome to Joseph's Model Railway and Toy Room. Thank you so much, as always, for joining me. Just a little bit of housekeeping. You don't need to like, follow, or subscribe. You're busy enough without needing to do any of that. I just put the videos out there where I can. Have a holly jolly great time doing so. In this video, I would like to now introduce you to our second signal box down here on the main feature section of the layout. Of course, this project flip-flopped back and forth as we were waiting on other materials on other scenes, so I thought we better make the best of the time and get something done. And of course, then I needed to wait on materials to finish this thing, but it is the way it needs to be, albeit it's not in quite the permanent location, so to speak. But I just wanted to introduce you to it. Now, of course, you've seen in previous videos, I've introduced you to Noodle Knocker Junction, which is over at the section where the cricket club is and leading down to the fiddle yard. Of course, the local community, after we had automated the signal box, the underneath was gutted out, and I put a model railway club model railway in the downstairs bit, and we illuminated that building. Well, in this particular signal box, in the lower section, there is nothing. This section doesn't actually have a name just yet. I'm open to suggestions, and by all means, we will come up with something to name the station and indeed this signal box. However, it's just a quick one on what we've come up with here, because it's two parts what we've basically done. I decided to build a little communications mast here for obvious relaying equipment and communications that are needed on this particular train layout. It's just blue tacked down at the moment, as I'm not too sure until I've put the signal gantries in if this needs to go this way or that way accordingly, but somewhere in this vicinity. And of course, our tremendous signal box here, which took inspiration from at least some 30, albeit 40 years ago in my mind, that I remember seeing a control tower, as it was known, on the BHP Whyalla, South Australia, tramway, or train line, as we certainly do know it, that was being used for the diesel locomotives. And when it came down into the pellet plant, the steel works, obviously there was a little control tower. Not so much a signal box, but for the average person that would see it hiding, it was a signal box. And of course, as BHP was rebranded again and then moving into One Steel and future operations, they did get a lick of paint and redone again. And the color scheme that I've come up with, while not exact, you can see what I'm trying to recreate with the signal box that I do remember. And of course, after I'd painted it and put this thing together, and unfortunately Google Maps with all the overgrown section because they don't use it anymore, meant that here we are. And a big thank you to my brother who managed to jump in the car, go down, who still lives in the same town, and grabbed a few pictures for me of what still is there and from what I can recall. And the key features that were in my head were the same. The color scheme, albeit a little bit different, but did have the reds, the two shades of blue, and some yellow safety rails, which I've put on the staircase you can't quite see on this angle. I certainly remember there was a bike shelter, and you can certainly see that is what we have created. Not albeit quite the same, but we've taken a bit of weathering to an already Bachmann scene craft and made some adjustments. Again, when it's in its permanent home, that'll be where it needs to be. And the control tower, not necessarily that they had one, but of course that's a fitting feature we see particularly on a line like that. And indeed, let us not forget, there was a floodlight mounted on the outside. It was supposed to be on the left. I stuffed up when I was putting it together. Mine ended up being on the right, but here we are.
Sorry, Joseph, if I could just interject for just one moment. One thing I did want to say about this style of signal box is I would really, really love to get a small pan, tilt, zoom styled camera inside. I think it would be fantastic because this would be one of the best perspectives you will see of the layout. You've got the switching of the main situation with the yard and the station, but also you can quite clearly see and control the junction operation through the petroleum depot. There are obviously a few small cameras, but nothing so far that is available that would tick some boxes. But I would be open to coming back and lifting the roof back up and popping some cameras in there.
Now, a couple of key things. We do have a bit of vegetation growing down on the lower section, and if we actually just lift the lid, you can see it's not permanently down. You'll notice on the inside, and we'll have a quick chat about Woodland Scenics, but we'll turn the inside light up. You'll probably notice we have some resplendent green carpet. I wonder where the inspiration for that came from. And of course, we just put in the operator. Now, of course, this is the Pico Wills kit that they do, and I've just given it the appropriate licks of paint where necessary, and a little bit of customization. The light at the top, and you can see the wiring. I just took a bit of diffuser and a standard Woodland Scenics light to put in at the top in a cool white I did want up there. And certainly, if we just move our communications tower, which you can see, we did use a little bit of the piano wire, just to give it that little bit of detail with wiring that we're so used to seeing. And of course, that's just a custom made mast that I just did with a little offcut of styrene. A quick paint in a little bit of brown, a little bit of grey at the bottom, and it's good. This particular kit, which is an actual N-scale mast that I thought I could use, I think we picked it up for $1.50 on a popular trading site. I'm probably not going to worry about fixing the roof down. Again, Woodland Scenics Just Plug lighting system is wonderful because if you're getting a bit of light bleed or things where you don't need it, of course we can come along with our putty and correct it, or indeed we can certainly just dim the lights up or down accordingly. And I think that is a superior system. Now let's just turn it around for the minute. And you'll see I also just took a Woodland Scenics gooseneck, heated up a little bit to give it a bit of a bend back. And once again, we have the light over the landing of where the stairs are. Again, safety yellow. And of course, we have just applied a little bit of color and weathering across the things here. Now, I have got a little bit of landscaping especially planned for this, which we'll come back to. But you can see our vines that we do have growing along the side here. And if we just look at these close-up pictures on those key spots, you'll see how all of this has come together quite nicely. Just going to have a quick chat now about using the Viessmann LED lights that you can purchase, along with using them in conjunction with your Woodland Scenics Just Plug lighting system. I'm going to do an exclusive video explaining a bit more in depth, a more advanced approach to some tricks and easy ways you can use this system without it being complicated or intimidating. We'll be talking about it when we're doing the shed, which we've wired up. But let's just have a really quick, simple chat about something that some of you may be stumbling on, which is surprisingly simple. First of all, the light that is inside the building and the gooseneck that's outside are standard Woodland Scenics lights. So, of course, as a result, the one in the building is cool white. You'll know when you've got a cool white one because the heat shrink they've used is in a light blue. Also hiding under this heat shrink is the resistor for the LED, hence why we just plug it in. We don't have to worry about it. And when we turn it up or down, it can dimmer or brighter accordingly. The gooseneck on the other side is a warm white dictated by the grey. Turn it up and down. We might not be able to see much, but if I just pop my hand around the side, you should be able to see it going light and dark. Now, the Viessmann lights are a little bit different. We can't just plug them in. They have already been pre-wired with not only a resistor for the LED, but a diode as well. Now, obviously, they'd like you to use their proprietary system, and if you'd like to do that, so be it. Again, I've gone with Woodland Scenics, so here's the simple way I like to do it. First of all, almost reminiscent of a Dad's Army episode where things are backwards regarding a parachute that needs to come out, and the thread runs counterclockwise instead of clockwise, as to other lights. In the instructions, they'll point out that you need to connect your LED strip positive to positive, negative to negative. The resistor will need to be on that red or positive leg, and the diode will be sitting on the black section. However, that is true if you're using their system. If you're using Woodland Scenics, and all I've just done is taken that particular light that we're using on this floodlight here, and here I've just extended the wires. The difference is, though, where it says it should be black and red, I've reversed it. So where it says it should be red, I've put the black one, and where it should be black, I've put the red one. And you don't have to do the extra step if you don't want. You can just wire them up backwards. But then when you come along, it just means that black is black and the red will match up with the rest of the grey that Woodland Scenics use. So as a result, because we're obviously using different systems, we need to try and keep some continuity. In my case, the one thing that is always the same in every different system, there always seems to be a black. So I'm always just trying to keep black to be the neutral, the negative, and that's what we're working on. So that's all we've basically done here. And I suppose the most important thing is, yes, if we took it and then plugged it into the dimmer, this light's not going to come on, and that's because of the diode. The great news for you is you don't even need your Woodland Scenics Just Plug. You just have to connect it straight onto the 12 volt. So you can see all I did here was I took one of their clips and I put it onto one of the expansion hubs, which is just straight 12 volt, and plug it in. If you take a look under the board, you will see, as we have discussed on many occasions, one of these distribution blocks with black that I always connect to the B for black, and A is where we obviously have the red. So literally, I would just have these red and black wires wired directly in. Nothing to worry about. Again, I don't need to make any adjustments to the light or anything like that. That one doesn't need to be dimmed or anything like that. And again, to turn the lights on and off for the layout, I have it all wired to the power pack for the Just Plug system, which is set to a switch that I just on and off as required. But I think it's some of these little tricks that need to be further explained. For those of you that have watched an earlier video I talked about the Just Plug lighting system, I'm talking about how expansive and how wonderful it can be. And for those of you that have asked some questions, I'm more than happy. We're now going to start to delve into some deeper things. We're going to have a chat regarding our shed we're putting in. We'll be covering that a little bit later, as we're talking about some lighting that we've customized with a shed, and of course our yard lighting with the floodlights that'll be up on their towers, and there's a little more that goes into it. But once again, the system is, like they say, Just Plug. It is simple, and I'm just going to assist you through and show you how to make it even simpler, plus save you a few dollars, because you don't have to keep buying more and more of these when you can just keep tapping out from your common bus feed for your girls and boys, ladies and gentlemen, once again, that's going to do us for another video. I'd like to thank you so much for joining me. Stay safe, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Toodles!